Hi, I'm Graham from Coal Tool Centre in Cairns. I hope this instructional video is of help to you. And remember at all times that electricity kills people, so don't touch anything that's electrical. Electrical repair should be all carried out by a licensed tradesman. Somebody knows what they're doing. Today we're looking at fault diagnosis of compressors. First of all, we'll start with showing you the proper operation of a standard compressor. Most 240 volt compressors will have a pressure switch, which is you can turn it on and off with a pressure switch. When it first starts with no air in it, it will leak air around the bottom of the pressure switch, which is a valve, until it gets to about 30 pounds, and then we'll pump up to pressure, turn off and restart when the pressure comes down again. We'll start it now. When the pressure comes up this pressure, it will turn off, and when it turns off it will unload, and you'll hear air come out for a few seconds or a second, and then it will stop bleeding air. This was standard operation. As you heard there, when it came up to pressure, about 130 pound, it turned off and it bled air out of the delivery pipe at the pressure switch. So the air comes down into here into the tank, and off the side there's a little bleeder. That little copper hose runs across the pressure switch, and when it comes up to pressure it unloads and lets the air out, and so the thing doesn't have to start on 100 pound of pressure on the delivery side there. There are many different types of non-return valves, but they all serve the same function. They all stop the air coming back out of the tank once it's come from the pump into the tank. These ones have unloaders in them. Don't unload with the pressure switch, they have a little hole. Starting the compressor. That's a sound you don't want to hear. If you hold, that's a not unloaded compressor or a problem with the capacitor. Things to listen for when the compressor is playing up and won't turn on properly or just keeps blowing. Okay, it tried to restart but couldn't restart because there was too much pressure on the cylinders, actually popping the thermal overload on the motor. That's now clicked out on the thermal, so it's a fuse. Now the air leak is being caused not by the bottom of the pressure switch there, but following the black hose down along here to the non-return valve. We'll now pull the non-return valve and inspect the problem. Okay, we still have pressure in the tank, so we shall drop the pressure before we take the non-return valve using the safety valve. Okay, no air pressure in the tank, now we can remove our non-return valve. Common components from the non-return valve: cap, the spring and the puck itself, which does the sealing. Check the surface of that. There's a little bit of mark on that. We can linish that back. Got to make sure that it fits inside moves in and out freely. And we'll also check in the side to make sure there's nothing in there or jammed in there or the surface isn't damaged. Okay, we can lineage that one there by just moving it backwards and forwards on the surface, and that gets the flat surface, and we can run it that way if it was jamming. Just pre-repair, nice and flat. Nice and flat after repair. Okay, if the plug was badly damaged, you'll replace it. We'll always also stretch the spring there to make it a little bit longer, so that gives it a little bit more tension. And reassemble and put it all back together. That should be it. Okay, we repaired the non-return valve, put it back together. Now we'll try and start it. Okay, it's turned on but it won't start. We have power to it, so the thermal overload has to be reset. The button's out, hopefully it's cooled down enough by now. We push that button. We've refitted our non-return valve. We'll now test the pressure. We've already up to about 60 pounds of pressure. Run it, turn it off and see if it unloads. If it unloads, we know we've got it okay. If we've still got an air leak, then we'll remove the nylon tubing and check that it's still not leaking out of the pressure switch, which can be a pressure switch problem. Okay, that unloaded nicely, so this one's okay. You still had an air leak, you pull that collar back, pull that out. If you've got air coming out of there, from there you know that you haven't fixed the non-return valve. If you still had an air leak coming out of here now, you would have a problem with the pressure switch. You might have to replace the pressure switch.